Okay, let's talk about the prescriptions first, because that is somewhat different than alcohol and other drugs. Prescriptions have become a one-time deal. They are meant to address symptoms. These doctors, traditional Western doctors, unfortunately, their roles have evolved into something other than what was initially intended. Today, these medical Western doctors are known for giving out a quick fix. If there is a more involved illness, such as cancer, their methods are rather threefold: burn it, kill it, and try to eliminate it through a pill. Now, that does not help the person. The alcohol, drugs, and any other addictions, what those things do to a person is to distract, so that the person does not face the challenges that are being presented to them. And the challenges get closer and closer until they're really in your face, so that you, the person, has to deal with them.
How would you respond to someone that calls drug and alcohol abuse an illness?
They are illnesses of a different source. All these illnesses are meant to help a person change course, look at things in a different perspective. And each illness, depending on circumstances and the person, offer a healing aspect. Now, it can be quite difficult because sometimes you, the humans, do not get out of your own way. You have a hard time on looking at truth, a different perspective. And sometimes, because I know this through Jackie and her struggles and challenges with Lyme disease, you always assume the worst. That in itself has a negative, lower vibration, and sometimes, most likely, it's hard to get out of that hole.
Thank you. On the same topic, there are drugs or alcohol or any other kind of disease that's labeled as a genetic disorder or something that runs in a family. are we inheriting trauma, or is this just our path? How would you address people who say, well, I have a genetic disorder?
You, as a society, Western people, have been conditioned to accept these genetic illnesses because the medical field has presented it in that way. So when something is presented from a place of authority, you do not question that. Therefore, you automatically accept your given path by way of this genetic disposition. However, it is not a given. You can choose to say, no, I do not accept that condition, that path, the hereditary illnesses that have been passed on, and choose to go another way. Now, this is a lot easier said than done because there is many conditioning methods that have happened to you as a human through growing up, living in a family, and you hear that narrative. It may seem like forever, but in your lifetime, you have been conditioned when you were a child. So the first thing to do is reject that premise, that conditioning, that genetic predisposition. And then once you have fully rejected that way of thinking, you can pivot and choose another way, another perspective. And how you do that is by creating your own story. Envision how you want to look, feel, act. What is your energy level? What is your spiritual level? What is your vibrational level? Elevate all of these areas.
Thank you. How would you describe how genes, how our DNA affects humans?
When a soul accepts their mission to incarnate, they pick and choose, if you will, their family. We all know this. Your health, your heredity, perhaps the medical issues that run through a family's lineage. And so you pick all that, knowing everything that you know before you incarnate, that these are challenges and lessons to be learned or unlearned. So, by choosing, for instance, Lyme disease, this has really challenged Jackie to think in alternative perspectives. Now, when she gets a flare up, as she calls it, it is reminding her to stop and look and see what she is thinking, believing, and it forces her to change her course of direction. Now, that is not physically, but more mentally. And those are the hardest things to do as a human because it may feel like it takes great effort and energy to mentally change your concepts, your foundations. But once you do, it's quite simple and easy. It frees up more energy and more health in your body, your etheric body.
There's a lot of messaging right now about preparing humans for a new Earth. And part of that messaging is that our DNA is changing to adapt to a higher vibration. Would you like to comment on that?
Oh, yes. Can't you feel that? Don't you see that? It's happening quite quickly. There is such a split happening right now. And you, as a human, can choose to be caught up in the drama and the stress, or you can rise above it and say, yeah, that's meant to happen because we are raising the vibration of those human beings along with other ETs, hybrids that are here on Earth to help facilitate this split. So, yes, the DNA is changing. Are you helping your own DNA to change and to make that happen? And that is on all levels: your food, your water, your thinking, your thoughts, your emotions, your spiritual practices.
I love that you mentioned food as one of the changes that affect us. So we can make healthy choices. However, a lot of our Earth's soil and food supply has been depleted of the appropriate nutrients. These are what authorities are telling us and scientists are telling us. Are there simple tools we can use to, if a plate is put in front of us, to heal that food or to improve the nutrients of that food that we don't have control of necessarily from farm to table?
Yes, a few things here. First, there is a very simple test, and it is using your body to differentiate between what is helpful for your body versus hurtful. And by that is you can take an item in your hand, you can put your other hand and make a circle, and you can ask your body, is this healthy for me to have right now? And depending on how your body reacts, you first have to set the ground rules of what is yes, what is no. It all depends on how your body can do this. Now, last week, there was mention of a pendulum. It's the same thing. However, you are using your body as the tool, the pendulum. Now, I know Jackie does this with all her supplements that she takes. She'll hold it in her hand and say, yes, is this good for me? No, it's not. Now, you do not have to do this with everything, but maybe initially you'd start to develop a trust with your own body so that you will begin to know what is healthy and what is hurtful. You'll get to a point where you won't have to use a direct mechanic, so to speak, that you can ask it internally, and then you will hear, no, that's not good for me right now. Or, yes, that would be wonderful for you. Again, you can also do it holding a pendulum and asking and looking at the item, or putting the pendulum over the plate of food and asking, is this good for me right now? Now, to bless the food, if you will, convert the food, if you will, to a helpful state, you can ask your highest self, which is connected to the source, the God part, and ask for the light, the God, to come down through you, flow through you, and remove the lower vibrational part of the food. Now, that is not to say that the ice cream sundae is going to be converted to something healthier. Again, it's within reason. You will know, and you do know, whether you choose to accept it, admit it, understand, acknowledge is another topic.
That's wonderful. Thank you. On the question, staying with the question of food and nutrition and health, regarding eating animals. So there are opposing viewpoints on this topic. There's a long history of humans eating animals to survive and treating animals fairly in order to use them as a food source. We now have an industrialized food source or industrialized meat source. So there are varying opinions about whether or not to be eating meat or going completely vegetarian. The other part of that is that we are told from me personally, my Chinese medicine doctor is concerned that for me personally to eat meat, that I am absorbing the trauma of that animal and that I am more sensitive to that. Can you speak to the idea of eating meat versus choosing a vegetarian diet?
Yes, thank you for that question. For I believe this is a very controversial area. Humans have been eating meat for many, many millennia. The way that the animal is put to death is very, it is of concern. So, this is why when you eat meat, it is good to choose organic, humane ways of meat. Same thing with fish. Any animal, you can even say that of plants, if you will, because they are live beings as well. Now, this is not always as simple as it sounds, because there are those companies that say they are humane and yet they are not. If you choose to have a meat or chicken or whatever source of meat, do a little research into the company that you are buying from. Picking the more humane way of ending an animal's life is better. But again, we as humans have killed animals for our own consumptions, and we have asked for that animal to be presented in a way for their killing that is not as traumatic as some of the other companies that have brutalized the growing conditions and, of course, the dying of the animal itself. So there are better options should you choose to eat meat, fish. Just be cognizant of the companies that you choose to buy from. Not everyone can be vegetarian. The human race has evolved due to different industrial, agricultural, hunter-gatherer phases of the evolution of the human. So, depending on how you are accustomed to and what helps your body function better will determine what type of food you are to be eating optimally. And again, this is part of the human process.
Thank you. On that response, if a animal is treated inhumanely and we're unaware, are we absorbing the
Yes,
trauma?
yes. And that's why we have, not only in the United States, but globally, we have many, many chronic illnesses. The food source is part of that formula because the food has been tainted from Mother Earth. It is not directly grown and influenced by Mother Earth. Man has stepped in and did something to the process, which has really messed up the health of many humans globally.
To clarify, then, trauma is not just absorbed in the food source through a meat source, it can be absorbed from plant sources as well.
Yes, yes. There is something about conscious farming where the farmers, which would include cattle as well, how they treat their animals, their plants. So we need more conscious farming. And fish, that goes for fish as well. And by that, I mean they have chosen to feed the cows a lesser quality of feed. Same thing with the fish. They keep them in pens in a certain area, not allowing them to roam. So man has interfered with the natural way of food. And it is because we are overpopulated. There is no more natural food for humans. You see, humans want things quickly, conveniently, and that food is not real food. It is a substance that will keep a person full. But look at 20, 30 years down the road, and we have many, many types of illnesses.
If we've been diagnosed with, say, a quote unquote hereditary disease, can we reverse that diagnosis?
Yes, absolutely. But it will take a strong mind, strong belief in the God part of that individual. And that person will have no doubt and no fear and will have 100% belief in God, if you will, the light, the source, the energy, the one that governs everything. It can be done. It has been done because there is also, when you are connected and when you fully believe, the light source, the God source, does flow freely. Again, believing, trusting, and having faith is a major component.
Thank you. How would you respond to a human that says there is no God?
They are closed. They have not seen, experienced love. Love in any form, human form. For when you experience love, love of a pet, how can someone not believe that there is not a higher person, being, light, source? They have been conditioned, hardened, shut down to put up barriers so that they are not hurt again. I believe it's from a conditioning that has turned them off to believing in something higher.
Thank you. I'd like to return to the topic of meditation and using tools to connect with our higher selves and spirit guides. Last week, we spoke with the one regarding using pendulums for this as a tool to aid with making connection. Could you give us your viewpoint on using tools?
Yes. Tools are anything that can get you to connect with the source, the light, the love, the unified field. There are so many names, and yet no one name can describe that feeling of light. So we will use the word light. Once you as a person has tapped into that source of light, now the light switch technique is a visual for anyone to use. You can sit quietly, flip the switch, and you are connected. It does take practice, like anything else, to, first of all, calm your mind, quiet your mind. It does not mean stopping your mind of thoughts. That is a misconception. Also, it doesn't have to be this way or the highway. It can be other forms of connecting and allowing the light to flow through. For instance, art, when artists are painting, drawing, musicians, when they are writing songs, singing, when they are singing. It can be anything and everything. It can be walking in nature and breathing in the fresh air and hearing the birds. You are connected. Whatever helps you to quiet down, connect, flip the light switch on, and you are connected. This is when you can ask a question. This is what Jackie has done. She has asked a question and she has listened. And then she has written it down. She has done this for almost 3 years now. And the answers that were given to her, she now knows they were not hers. They are of a higher source because they are so unlike her and her mindset, her beliefs, that it helped her to question, which led her to believe, trust, and have faith. Now, anyone can do this. You, the human, needs to figure out what helps you to connect. Is it meditating? Is it driving where your mind wanders? Is it singing? Is it walking in the woods or walking down the road? Or is it sitting in a chair and opening the window and allowing the birds, nature to flow into your space? You get to pick. You get to choose when and how. And then once you do, it's as simple as that. Flip the switch on and you are connected. Then you can proceed to the next step of listening.
Thank you. I think of this light switch technique specifically as a on the spot connector. And when I say that, although I personally am practicing quieting my mind in meditation, this week was challenging for at a work level, and I am asking for guidance and assistance specifically during the work week from my guides, angels, and higher self. The light switch technique is sometimes difficult when you're in an on the go mode or in a stressful situation during the week. And being human, we like quick fixes. Is there anything you can offer to help in specifically during a time when we're in motion, when we can't necessarily get outside to take that walk or take a breath, really?
Yes. So when you connect to the light, there is no such thing as time and space. You know this. They are man's construct. However, you have to function in this reality. And when you are under stress, such as this past week, this is when you focus on your mind, your thoughts. Witness where you are in the sense of you are in the throes of business issues and whatnot, and they're getting to you. And when you start to realize that, you witness this, step back. That's when you take a moment. You walk away, if you can, and take a breath and know that everything is there for a reason. You can rise above what your physical body is going through, for lack of a better terminology, and know that it's a flow. This flow of energy that you are dealing with, stress, will flow and wash through you, around you, over you, however you want to feel that, and allow that flow to work its way out. Do not hold on to any of it in the sense of the stress, the, say, for instance, anger or worry. Breathe and let it flow through you. Now, I know this is very difficult and this is very tough to do, but as you practice this and know that this has happened before, you are going to get through it and it will turn out for the best. All those thoughts and comments and commentary that you have, allow it to rise and fall. And that is what meditation is. You are allowing thoughts to come up to the surface. You acknowledge that, and then they fall, they flow down. It is like a wave, and you practice this acknowledgement of the rise of whatever the thought, the stressor is, and then allow it to go down. The more you practice this, the better you will feel that you do not have these wild swings in emotions. They will now flow a little bit more smoother. It does take practice. This is why people tend to meditate, because it is this practice of allowing the mind to have these thoughts, feelings, comments to bubble up. And then you learn to let it go, flow out of you, through you, over you, however you want to say it, or feel it, or experience it. There's many ways to experience this, and there's many words to describe it. But again, it is hard to describe a feeling, but once you feel that, you will know. It does get easier as you practice meditation.
The metaphor of the wave was extremely helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. That is one that is well known through transcendental meditation, of which Jackie has been schooled in.
Thank you. Do you have any closing remarks for the group?
Well, I know that we've talked extensively about food, animals, plants, seafood, trauma, and hopefully the light switch, along with however you choose to connect, will help you connect a little bit easier. But remember, it's a practice, and it's not as difficult as you may think it is. Your mind can make something out to be more traumatic than it actually is. Just stay open and realize that you can do this. Everyone can do this. And maybe listen to that tiny little voice that you need to give more credence to say, that's it. Oh, that's how it is. Because that's how you may experience something or describe it a different way. So I hope all these various descriptions and analysis does help.
It does. Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me the time.
And she's back.
She's back.
We're going to unmute Lauren now so that she can close the sacred space.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Go ahead and take a breath and feel where you are energetically at this time. Feel the physical benefit as well as the mental and emotional benefit that we have received from these wonderful messages and information of how to go forward. Go ahead, take another breath. Feel your grounding, feel your connection above and below. Know that you can connect to this anytime. We want to thank all those of our team and those of the astral realm who have come to help, to guide, and to heal today. Thank you in particular to the Christ consciousness who has come in to speak these words of wisdom and guidance today and lend his amazing healing wavelength with us. And with that, I thank you all for being here, and until next time, have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know about you guys,